A themed episode? Yeah. Yeah, a themed episode. Where I get to pretend I'm like a founding father for a moment. Yep, that sounds like it. I'm in. So let's do this. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation until his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass any other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people should relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to their acts of pretended legislation. For cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. He has excited domestic insurrections against us. The hell is all that? It's just a partial reading of the list of grievances listed in the Declaration of Independence. Grievances against King George, the Mad King. Grievances against the people of this new nation. Grievances so severe that they were willing to fight the most powerful army and navy in the world for their future, for their survival. The Founding Fathers. Far from perfect, to be certain. These are the ideals that led to the creation of the country. We talk about the Constitution all the time. Constitution this, Constitution that. Super important. Absolutely. But what about the Declaration of Independence? Why don't we talk about that as much? And this list sounds awfully damn familiar, doesn't it? See, the Declaration of Independence was a bunch of people, sure, rich white guys, deciding that they didn't want to live under a monarchy anymore, especially a tyrannical one. They were upset. They were upset that they were being taxed and saw no benefits from those taxes. That should sound familiar too. They were upset because tyrannical rule is no fun for anybody except the tyrant. and the people who are temporarily aligned with him before the tyrant turns on them as well. See, the lessons of this type of takeover, if you will, of a nation and a government are myriad. There are so many. This is how it works. Tyrants take over countries, and in the end, it never ends well for them. It's sad because you should know. It's not enough for these people just to be rich. It's not enough for these people to have a degree of sway, influence over the powers that be. No. In this case, the oligarchs have to control it all. And it all starts at the top with the dictator-to-be and his willingness to utilize a platform of retribution to meet the ends of some very nefarious, smart people who are working for him. For him, put "for" in quotes. They work for him, but really he works for them. These are the people like Russell Vought and Tom Homan and others who wrote Project 2025, brought it to life. This is the culmination of decades of planning to subvert the government and use it for their whims. Yeah. It's all there. It's all there. And in the first 100 days, the object is to do as much irreparable damage as possible. And they've done a pretty damn good job. I got to admit, they are, by and large, fools. They're tilting at a windmill that will ultimately backfire on them. And yet they've done so with absolute ruthless insistence that they are right. So I've been thinking about this for a while. And Robert Reich, former Secretary of Labor under Bill Clinton, posted. He's also a professor emeritus of economics at Berkeley. He's written several books. Robert Reich is an amazing thought leader and doesn't get enough credit for it. He posted this little snippet of these transgressions of King George on Blue Sky, and I caught it and I was like, that's right. I remember this. And so I went through and I read the Declaration of Independence again. It's a very short document. There's not a lot to it. It is very much language of the day. So it's a little hard for us, modern English speakers to understand some of this nonsense. But to make a long story short, it was about tyranny, about how we didn't want to be vassals of a monarch anymore. We didn't want, the founding fathers didn't want to be vassals of a monarch anymore. They wanted to choose their own fortune. They wanted to choose their own fate, and they wanted to push forward in a different direction. And they got enough support that they made it happen. So, what is with Mad King Donald and his cronies trying to throw all that away? How does it benefit them? How does it behoove them? Well, when you're rich, I think that they get bored. You've got, all of your needs are met when you're rich. So what do you do with your time? Now, that seems to be something that is recurring. Some multimillionaires, very rich people choose philanthropy, and they just, they say they pick something that they really love, like the arts, and they have theaters built and shows put on, or they have museums erected and filled with priceless art. And that's a hobby. That's something that they believe in, and they want to preserve those things. Maybe it's books. Maybe it's science. Those are philanthropic goals, philanthropic ideals. We give our money toward the future or to preserve the past. Some people just want more money. There was a time when I believed Elon Musk was actually a decent fellow who really cared about climate change and sparing the earth. Then he got red-pilled, bought Twitter, went crazy, and now it's madness. Now, he's supposedly the richest person on earth, which I don't believe for a second. I still believe it's Vladimir Putin. But Elon Musk, the first quarter earnings for Tesla, his biggest ownership stake, came in at down 71% from last year. In other words, the $1.4 billion they made last year got cut down to like 470 million this year. Million with an M. Now, it raises a lot of questions about how a company that, even when it's doing well, only makes around $8 billion a year. And I say only like I've ever made $8 billion. But why is a company that's only making about $8 billion a year worth so much money? The market cap. Why is there so much money poured into Tesla? That's a great question. It's completely out of whack with what the rest of the world sees in automakers. Anyway, rich people need hobbies. And I guess the hobby that this rich group has decided on is oligarchy. There are a lot of different ways to be authoritarian, to be dictatorial, rise to power. I am in charge, and what I say goes. Trump has chosen fascism, which is super nationalistic, isolationist from the rest of the world, very militaristic, suspension of things like judicial powers and law, all in the name of what the dictator wants. It is earmarked by hardline responses to opposition. That's fascism in a nutshell. And that's what we got. That's what we're rocking. So what is this pod going to be about? We talked about the Declaration of Independence. We're talking about a tyrant. We're talking about Trent's always talking about fascism. He's got fascism on the brain. And, well, when you're living through it, it's really important to remember to keep calling it out, because you can't normalize it. You can't just turn your blind eye to it and say, well, everything's going to be okay, because it's not going to be okay unless we're aware of it and unless we're ready to do some things about it. We'll talk about that at the very end. But I did want to talk really quickly about Donald Trump and how he's doing. How is he doing? The authoritarian shit is going great. Gangbusters. They are crushing it with my way or the highway, because not enough people are standing up to say, no, that's not the way the United States works. That's not it. We're finally starting to see a little bit of pushback against all of this illegal shit. But let's just talk real quick about how it all breaks down. Trump is ruling through executive order. They aren't passing laws. None of this is permanent. And these executive orders, they're treating like laws, but they're not. An executive order is just a focus for a work group. It's like a memo from your boss. Hey, Trent, you need to pay more attention to breaks and lynches of your employees. Okay, I'm on that. Yes, sir. That's an executive order. It's the same thing. So when there's an executive order that was signed on day one, suspending birthright citizenship, that's not within his purview, because it's specifically dialed in the Constitution. Birthright citizenship is established under the 14th Amendment, And the reason that it's established in the 14th Amendment is because we needed to decide what citizenship constituted. How does it happen? And you can either be a natural citizen, in other words, you were born here, or you can become a naturalized citizen by jumping through all the immigration hoops that exist, and then you can earn your citizenship through a test and an oath to protect the Constitution and the country. So when Trump says no more birthright citizenship, that's not even possible. And so that EO, of course, got fought, and it's in the courts right now being held up because you can't just... What mechanism is there for establishing citizenship if not your birthplace, where you were born? If you're born in America forever, let's go back to the beginning. If you were born here, you're an American. And this prevents us from having things like purity tests. It prevents the federal government from deciding who gets to be a citizen and who doesn't. Like they could come out tomorrow and say anybody who doesn't join the Republican Party will revoke their citizenship. But you can't do that because we have naturalized citizenship enshrined in the Constitution. How about that? They're using a bunch of antiquated laws to do a bunch of fuckery. And a lot of that fuckery is illegal. The Alien Enemies Act, where we're deporting people from Venezuela because we are at war with Tren de Aragua, or we are at war with Venezuela, which operates a gang called Tren de Aragua. It's all false. It's all fake. There's no war. Tren de Aragua was actually started in LA, just for fun. This lumping in terrorist organizations with foreign governments, that doesn't work. Also, why? Why are you deporting these people when you could there aren't that many. We're talking 200 people that they've sent to El Salvador illegally, most of which are innocent. We have plenty of places to detain and incarcerate criminals here in the United States. We have plenty of them. We have lots of them. Anyway, how is Trump doing? Poorly. So I wanted to go through a couple of things. I made notes and everything. This is very professional, today's podcast. I wanted to go through a few things in no particular order and talk about each one. How is Trump doing on each thing? So let's start. Let's just start with foreign policy. It's the one in front here. How is Trump doing on foreign policy? He's abandoned Ukraine. Today they've announced, I wanted to do this real quick because it's cool. This is what Russia gets under Trump's proposal. U.S. recognition of Russian control in Crimea. De facto recognition of the Russians' occupation of nearly all of Luhansk and the occupied portions of Donetsk, Kherson, and I cannot pronounce that one. Anyway, these are portions of Ukraine that are currently occupied by Russia. A promise, there's no compromise here, a promise that Ukraine will not become a member of NATO. The text notes that Ukraine could become part of the European Union. Number 4, a lifting of sanctions imposed by the United States since 2014. And 5, enhanced economic cooperation with the U.S., particularly in the energy and industrial sectors. In other words, for Ukraine to get a peace deal, they have to give up all their territory that Russia wants, that they've taken so far, including all the people that live there, all the goods that live there, all of the resources that are there. Give it all up. That becomes Russia. Ukraine can never become a member of NATO, so they can just reinvade later. And they have to give us their energy and industrial sectors, basically. So, in order for peace to happen, complete capitulation. That's the plan. The thing about NATO is funny because here's the United States. We're talking about abandoning NATO. We're going to abandon NATO. Yeah. And foreign intelligence sharing partners are no longer trusting us with their intelligence because we don't handle it properly. Yeah. So America first in foreign policy means America alone. How's that going? Did he stop the war in Ukraine on day one? Nope. Did he stop the war in Gaza on day one? No. In fact, when he took over, there was actually a ceasefire in place that was broken by anyone? The Israelis, Bibi Netanyahu. And Bibi is so empowered by the Trump administration that he actually started attacking Iranian proxies in Lebanon as well. We've already forgotten about that, I guess. Let's not even talk about the fact that we're no longer doing soft power at all. We've cut off U.S. aid to foreign countries. Disease is ravaging across Africa, and now there's no bulwark to stop it at all. Hundreds of thousands, millions of children are starving and are no longer being fed by the most powerful and wealthiest country on the planet. Because, we'll get to that in a minute, but no more of that. How about our economic policy? We've got tariffs for everybody. And that's just in the last few weeks. The tariffs thing is just became official in the last few weeks. Tariffs for everybody. We've started a massive war, Chinese trade war. And inflation is a problem for poor people. Not for rich people. Inflation doesn't affect rich people all that much. They don't care. They're already rich. Who gives a shit? So I remember that promise, that continuing promise, I'm going to bring down prices on day one. Going to bring down prices on day one. Nope. They just keep going up. Also, he's backing down on the Chinese trade war already because he can't win one. What happened when the United States decided that they would no longer be, when Mad King Donald decided that he no longer wanted to be a trustworthy partner in trade for the rest of the world. The rest of the world said, fine, we'll start doing deals with China. So, how are we doing economically? How are we doing, guys? The first quarter economic numbers are going to come out next month. The first real jobs report is supposed to come out next month. And I think that all of those numbers will be horrible. And I'm not the only one. A lot of economic experts believe that as well. A lot of economic and labor experts believe that as well. Layoffs are happening. We're hearing them anecdotally from companies like Stellantis and Maytag and John Deere. I heard Mack Truck is laying off another 900 people. Layoffs here, there, and the other. The Chinese government has canceled a bunch of orders for Boeing aircraft. Boeing is a huge domestic employer, and they lost what might be their biggest public contract. So that's our private contract with with another country. So good times there. How about we've talked a little bit about immigration process. Here's my notes. Immigration process policy, laws, question mark, fuck them. Due process, question mark, fuck them. Courts, question mark, fuck them. But we are going to sell citizenship for $5 million. That one went totally under the radar. They started selling these Trump gold green cards. It's like a green card, only it's a gold card, and you buy it for $5 million and you get resident status. Yeah. So the only crimes that immigrants are actually guilty of is being poor. So what does deporting little mini Hitler, Stephen Miller, wants to deport 1 million people in the first year? Who does that benefit? We hear horror stories all the time about mistaken identities, about people who are just upstanding members of the community who've been doing it right the whole time, trying to get permanent citizenship, but because everybody's dragged their feet on how do we improve the paths to citizenship in this country, they can't. And so we're deporting them because, fuck them for trying, right? Screw that, huh? How about education? What are we going to do with education? Well, first of all, no more funding. Fuck that. We're not paying for anything. And that means the special eds kids, special education needs kids, don't get federal funding anymore. And almost all special needs education is funded through the federal government. So now all the states are going to have to pick up that funding or stop taking care of special needs kids? Who does this help? There's also been a whole bunch of fuckery around student loans, including a report that came out now. I think it was yesterday. It may have been yesterday. It may have been this morning, where the Department of Education is going to, it was yesterday, thank you, is going to start reporting student loans that are in default for credit collection and wage garnishment. So we got that going for us too. God forbid we work with people on these things. No, we're going to garnish their wages because, the economy's not in the shitter enough as it is. Also, the regime has absolutely declared war on colleges and universities under the guise of anti-Semitism. They want alternative viewpoints in the faculty on things like climate change. Yep. They want to choose who gets to teach, what gets to be taught, and what students get to be admitted. They are taking away colleges like Harvard, taking away their ability to admit foreign students. Yeah. How about the way they're dealing with the press? The Trump regime is continuing to file lawsuits and issue threats over unflattering coverage. There's a $20 billion lawsuit against CBS by Trump, who is mad that they aired a Kamala Harris interview that he felt was cut to make her look better. Now, $20 billion seems like an awful lot of damages to be paid to the person who won the election. I don't think he's showing any harm, but it doesn't matter, see? Because Paramount, the parent company of CBS, is already changing their coverage of the Trump regime to be more flattering, to the point where the executive producer for 60 Minutes, one of the best journalism shows in the United States, who's been in that job for decades, resigned last night with the explanation he could no longer do his job independently. So, that's awesome, isn't it? They've also cut access to any outlet that doesn't give them flattering coverage. The Associated Press, for example, no longer gets to cover White House events, even though the courts have deemed that they need to be let back in. They're not doing it. And a whole bunch of people were cut out of, a whole bunch of outlets were cut out of the Department of Defense because reasons. How about lawfare? How about executive orders targeting specific law firms? How about executive orders targeting political opposition? None of these things are legal. All of them are impeachable offenses. How about dropping charges against political allies like Eric Adams in New York City? 10 career outstanding prosecutors who only follow the law resigned over the Eric Adams dropping of the case because they did not feel that it was correct. It was unethical. They refused to sign their name to it, and they got fired for it. Well, they were forced to resign for it. So they're dropping charges against their political allies. They're dropping investigations against their political allies. They're turning a blind eye toward other things like foreign registration and lobbying by foreign nations. They're changing all the handful of crypto regulation that there is. They're doing away with it entirely. And it's only because so many of them are so invested in crypto, isn't it? Cryptocurrency is an open door to corruption. But what do I know? How about healthcare? We have a massive measles outbreak in the United States. Over 630 confirmed cases in 6 states. Ha ha! We've had 3 deaths due to measles. How many times has that happened? And what is Robert F. Kennedy, our new Department of Health and Human Services Secretary, up to? Well, we're going to do away with the vaccination schedules, and we've taken down the COVID website and replaced it with a lab leak. It's ridiculous. They basically declared war on science at Health and Human Services. Kennedy is... This is the latest fuckery, has decided that he needs to know who has autism and when they were diagnosed. He's actually going to use AI to comb through all of our medical records to do an autism tracking, because he's decided that he's going to figure out what causes autism, and we're going to solve it in 6 months' time. Because that's how it works, right? Science is the devil. I have one more. How about the way he's handled the federal government? And in specific, I want to talk about the Doge bags. Their plan is fire everybody, defund everything, break the system so it doesn't work. And the question you might have is, why? And the answer that I wrote down is, fuck them. Fun fact. Originally, Doge targeted $2 trillion in cuts to the United States government spending. Then they reduced that target to $1 trillion when they won the election. Now, the latest claimed savings is $87 billion. Billion. 87 billion. So they're just a little bit short. They've hit 8.7% of their goal. 61 billion of that is savings for cut contracts, grants, and leases. So all the scientific research that might prevent cancer or might deliver a cure for Alzheimer's or things like that, that might cure diabetes, all of that funding, fuck that. That's all cut. Because we need that $61 billion to go towards our $1 trillion target. The current estimate is that $26 billion total saving. The other $26 billion is total savings from 200,000 federal job cuts. That's right. They've cut 200,000 federal jobs. And they're proud of it. What does it do? What's the point of it all? I asked this question earlier. Why are they doing all of this stuff? They haven't pledged to pay down the debt by running the government in a surplus. In fact, fun side effect of the Trump monetary policy, it's driven up the yield on T-bills, treasury bills. So when people buy treasury bills, which is the United States debt, we're purchasing the future debt, the yield has gone up, which means our debt is increasing just because of the fuckery with the financial situation. Not to mention the fact that the current estimate is that the United States government will lose $500 billion this year in unpaid taxes because they fired so many IRS agents there won't be anybody to collect. What's it all for? So the rich people can get to keep more of their money. That's right. So before I jet for the day, I did want to talk about one last thing. Where is the hope, Trent? You're supposed to be a good guy. You're supposed to believe in the future. You're supposed to believe in democracy. You're supposed to believe in the people. And I do. And that's why I can share with you. Let's see. I have it on my phone. Hold on 1 second. I could edit all this out, but I'm not going to because that's how I roll. A new Pew Research poll that dropped today, April 23rd, 2025. We're almost to 100 days in, and they've run another poll. The overall approval for Donald Trump is 40% approve and 59% disapprove. People aren't on the fence anymore, baby. That's 19 points underwater. He is by far the most unpopular president since polling started. Specific polling on tariffs and his handling of tariffs, 39% approve, 59% disapprove. He's 20 points underwater on his handling of tariffs. And cuts to the United States government, 44% approve, 55% disapprove. So he's down 11 points there. Now, basically, everything he's doing is wildly unpopular. And one of the most unpopular things he's doing, even though people seem to like the highest numbers he gets, which are still underwater, are on immigration, because people are really upset and want people deported for some bizarre reason. But fine. How about the fact that Trump refuses to follow the orders of the court, especially the Supreme Court? 19% of respondents says that the president does not have to follow a court's ruling. 78% say that he does. When you expand that into the Supreme Court, only 9% say that he does not have to follow a Supreme Court ruling. And the other number jumps up to 88%. Republicans still love him. 75% approval on his job performance by Republicans, which is actually down about 15% from where he usually is. Normally, he gets about 90% from Republicans. Democrats, on the other hand, 93% disapprove. So his approval is horrible. It's bad among independents, too. The numbers are actually similar to the Democrats. People hate what he's doing because when you look around, uncertainty rules the day. And when you add uncertainty to the taking away of people's rights without due process, that's not good. And you ruin people's pocketbooks. The number of people who are being laid off because of these policies increases every day. Businesses do not invest in times of uncertainty. They pull out of investments. They reduce their workforces. They reduce their productivity. They hunker down and try to survive the storm until the economic environment improves. And that's just the big companies. Main Street, the small companies, the little mom and pop shops, they're already starting to close. They're already starting to go into debt. Things are going poorly. All so the richest among us can get another tax cut. But if you're paying attention, and you should be, protests continue. Protests continue, and they continue to grow, and those are good things. The amount of people who are demanding change at town halls for both Republicans and Democrats is increasing. The number of Democratic senators now retiring at the end of their terms because they feel that it's time for new leadership is now 4. Dick Durbin, who is 80 years old, will not be seeking re-election, and we will get a new senator from the state of Illinois. We will get a new senator from the state of Michigan, as Gary Peters has decided to retire. It's far from done. It's far from done. There is a lot of fuckery going around with voting as well, with the election system in the United States, including the SAVE Act, which should die in Congress, in the Senate, but you never know. Donald Trump is wildly unpopular. And if you pay attention to all polling, you'll see that the Democratic Party is also wildly unpopular. And why is the Democratic Party unpopular? Or why isn't Trump more unpopular? Well, there is a 30% base for Trump, maybe even as high as 40% of voters that wouldn't turn on him ever. They're going to be the ones sent to the gulags in foreign nations someday, and they don't care. They don't care. He can do no wrong. That 40% is unwavering, unwaveringly pro-Trump and unwaveringly anti-Dem. Now, that's the behavior of a cult. Okay, the Democrats don't have a cult. In fact, we're kind of anti-cult. It's kind of our thing. And if you were to ask me what my approval, disapproval of the Democratic Party would be, I would say I disapprove of what they're doing. I disapprove of what you're doing. I need more communication. I need more planning. I need more pushback. I need more throwing sand in the works of a wildly unethical and lawless fascist regime taking over our country. I'm scared for the future. I need to hear more from you. You need to be out there fighting every day and have one of your aides with a cell phone live streaming it, I guess. Something. Show me some shit. So I disapprove of the Democratic Party. So put me in the list of people who disapprove of the Democratic Party. And I'm as progressive as, well, most come. There are more people more progressive than me. And I'm like, wow, you guys are wild. But I love positive change. I want to see us become more like Star Trek instead of, Mad Max. But we're going hell bent for leather on the Mad Max thing. So Dems aren't popular because we're not cultish. Republicans hate Dems. It's actually their reason, I like to call it the raison d'etre. It is their reason for being. Without hating Dems, they don't know who they are. And as for Dems, we're critical. We're critical of our own, just like we're critical of others. Because when you screw up, you should be criticized. And the Dems floundered this entire messaging cycle and ended up losing all three elected areas of government. The House, the Senate, and the presidency all went the wrong way because Dems can't get their shit together. And it's a lot of it's because complex answers don't fit on bumper stickers. Okay? I got the bumper sticker already. Eat the rich. And you know what? Rich people can kiss my ass. You've got too much money. You don't know what to do with it. Your hobbies include hurting other people. It's bullshit. They're playing the most dangerous game over here. Great short story. Please read it. The most dangerous game is about hunting human sport. That's where we're headed. Some sort of crazy rich people can be completely lawless future. As long as they pay enough for their pardons, they're fine. And we'll work it in the system that we've already got. Or the people who don't agree with this fascist takeover of our country will band together and say, no, we are not going to allow you to do this. So I said really early on, what do you do? What do you do? Political violence is wrong. It's correct. Political violence is wrong. But there are other ways to flex our muscle, and that's demonstrations. It's protests. It's in the streets. And beyond that, it's civil disobedience. And this is what's coming, okay? If you think the economy's bad right now, wait until 70, 75 million people, 80 million people stop buying stuff for a month. We'll just stop. Stop buying new stuff. Everybody should think about this. Will you be ready when it's time to turn off the economic spigot? Shut it down. No more money. We're not putting money into this economy. We're not doing it. Civil disobedience is in the offing, as they say. It's inevitable. If the fascists continue to push as hard as they're pushing, civil disobedience is inevitable. It must happen. When I read a list of grievances against King George, and you could apply them all to the Mad King Don, what does that tell you? What does it mean to be patriotic? What does it mean to be a citizen? Well, it's interesting stuff, isn't it? It's not just about where you were born. It's not just about your allegiances. It's about more than that. It's about a future. It's about understanding the past and determining that we don't want to return to it. When they say make America great again, it's a fucking Nazi slogan. They don't even know what they're fucking talking about. Donald Trump talks about returning to pre-1913, and he talks about it with great fascination. Like, we're going to replace income tax with tariffs. No, you're not. You can't. It's not possible. The math isn't there. Matt, you can talk all you want. The numbers are what the numbers are. You cannot replicate income to the United States of an income tax with tariffs. You cannot do it. It is not feasible. Not even close. But why the fuck would rich people not want income tax anymore? If I have to ask you these questions, we're in the wrong place having the wrong discussion. We are in this together. Those of us who live normal lives, who pay mortgages or rent homes, rent apartments, those of us who go to the grocery store every week to buy foods and grocery, as Donald Trump would call it, grocery to feed our families. We're the ones who pay the electricity bill every month, who have to worry about why my health care keeps going up every year, why my premiums keep going up every year, why my out-of-pockets keep going up every year. How much of my income can I afford to spend on, this, that, or the other? How much can I save for retirement, if at all? Rich people don't have those considerations. They don't have any of those considerations. Donald Trump has never bought groceries in his fucking life. Never. Not once. 78 years old. Not one time. Born a millionaire 78 million years ago. Fucking dinosaur Trump. There's a comic for you. 78 years ago, he was born a millionaire. Born into a millionaire family. Silver spoon in his mouth. Not once. Not once. Not once has he had to do the things that we do every day. And there are hundreds of millions of us in this country alone, living paycheck to paycheck, month to month, scared of a big expenditure like my kid needs braces or my car broke down. But this is our country. This is our country. Donald Trump may put his name on the fucking buildings, but he didn't build them. It was the hands of everyday people A lot of them immigrants who built his buildings. That's how it works, you know? Take credit. The first promise of this country in the Declaration of Independence is we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Men, of course, definition changes over time. All humans created equal, that they are endowed by their creator. I didn't put my glasses back on. Endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That's the first promise of this country, that we could govern ourselves. Those of us who pay our mortgages and our rent every month, those of us who build Donald Trump's buildings, we have just as much of a say as the billionaires. And Citizens United be damned. Money isn't speech. We have the power to change whatever we want to change. That's the whole point. They want to take that power away from us. They want to divide us. They want to break us down, and they want to keep us from organizing. They want to take away our First Amendment rights to freedom of speech and freedom of peaceable assembly, and they can't. You can't. You can't have those. You can't take away the freedom of the press. The press is our eyes and ears. They don't work for the government. They work for the people. Sure, millionaires may buy their stuff and tell them what they can and can't cover, but there's always independent media popping up left, right, and center saying, you know what? We'll take over for them. We'll do it the right way. Find the independent media in your life. Find the Midas Touch Network. Seriously. We're not done. Not by a damn sight. It's a time for courage. It's a time for real talk. You have things to lose right now, but if they continue to get their way, the fascists continue to get their way, you won't have much later. There won't be much to save. And honestly, you'll either get on board with saving your own ass now, or you'll get on board with saving your ass later when you have nothing left to lose. When these cuts and when these attacks on the rule of law hit closer to home, you'll find out then that you have something to lose. And you'll pick a side. If you listen to this podcast for 54 minutes, you've already chosen. You've already chosen a side. You're with me. Anti-fascist. Anti-authoritarian. Power of the people. All we have is each other. I want to close this pod by acknowledging the loss of Pope Francis. This yesterday, I think it was. All the days bleed together. It was 2 days ago. Monday? All right, Monday it came out. Pope Francis walked the walk. I'm not Catholic or anything. I don't know. The popes that I know for my lifetime, John Paul II, Benedict, Francis. Pope Francis was the real deal. He walked the walk. He believed in supporting those who needed support. He believed in climate change and how dangerous it was to the world in the future. He was a good man. I hope that the Catholic Church continues down his path, one of service to the people, all the people. I hope it comes to that. I hope that they continue in the same vein. He was a good man, a good leader, and he'll be missed. The world is a darker place when people of his caliber pass from it. So on that note, my love and admiration to everyone who sticks it out, who listened to this whole thing. I appreciate you so very, very, very much. Hopefully you can digest this thing, take it in 15-minute increments or something. I don't know how people listen to my show. I get people who say they listen to the whole thing and then drop me lines and say, hey, what the hell, man? Why is this so long? Or why didn't you mention this? Those are my favorites. You can reach me on Blue Sky at Old Man Trent. That's my cool handle, at Old Man Trent on Blue Sky. Thank you for listening. Share this with a friend, and hopefully we can grow the movement a little bit. Until next time, be good humans. It's the least we can do. Love you all.